My scouts found them a mile south of the wall. Said they were on the way here.
You're the Hound.
They want to go beyond the wall too.
We don't want to go beyond the wall, we have to.
Ice. A wall of ice. The wall. There's a castle there.
Our Lord told us the Great Wall is
Don't
coming.
trust him. Don't trust any of them.
You told me this was a brotherhood. You told me I could be one of you.
You're a fucking moment. Like the last Lord Commander. He was my father. He hunted us like animals.
You returned the favor, as I recall.
Here we all are. At the edge of the world. At the same moment.
Heading in the same direction for the same reason.
Our reasons aren't your reasons.
It doesn't matter what we think our reasons are.
There's a greater purpose at work. We serve it together, whether we know it or not.
We may take the steps. Lord of Light.
For fuck's sake, will you shut your hole? Are we coming with you or not?
Then you want to know what we're doing?
It's worse than sitting in a freezing cell waiting to die. He's right. We're all on the same side.
How can we be?
We're all breathing.
We are the Watchers on the Couch. We are the voices that guide the realms of men. We are the Night's Watch. Get hyped! Man, that was great. Thank you to Tom for that awesome opening. Welcome back. I'm your host, Kal the Kingslayer, and alongside me, as always, I have Lord Tom and Lady Kimber of House Odd Shape Channel.
Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome.
We are moving along really fast through the season. It's been frenetic and frantic, but it's been great. I've been enjoying it, and it's another fantastic episode. What do you guys think overall?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I know the creators are saying this was their favorite episode, and I still may have thought last week's episode was better, but this one was still really good. Like this season has not had a bad episode, I don't think. So.
Yeah, they dropped some bombs this episode, some pretty serious stuff confirmed, and I'm really looking forward to talking about this episode.
Yeah, I can't wait to start talking about this episode, but first, we always had to get into our little announcements that we have. Last week, we had your engagement announcement. I know that was made earlier, but now we did it for the Night's Watch. This week, the community gives us a lot. They give us a lot of support. They've been buying our shirts, a lot of feedback on Twitter. It's been great. So, and anytime we can support the community as well is important to us. So I know one of the members of our family is kind of in need of help. So I decided to throw a charity raffle out there. So, what we're doing is we're going to have the Night's Watch charity raffle, the first ever, and the prize is the Song of Ice and Fire book set. So if you're ever wanted it or just want another one or know somebody who wants it, you can enter the raffle. And it's going to be $2 per entry, but if you do $5, you get 3 entries, $10, you'll get 7 entries, $15 for 10 entries, $20 for 12, and $25 for 15 entries. And all proceeds raised will be donated to Tina Simmons to help pay for medications not covered by Medicaid. So, Tina is one of the family. She's always in our Twin Peeps show that Tom and Kimber do in the chat, and she's very insightful in that show as well. So if you get to know her, or you can follow her on Twitter to read more about her story at LostDogs20. You can DM me at NightsWatchTube or email me at nightswatchtube@gmail.com with the subject GOT raffle for details on how to enter. and it's just for a good cause. And if you don't want the books, you can always donate. You can say you don't want any entries, for somebody who really wants the books. You can still donate, and it'll go to a good cause. So please contact me when you can. This raffle will probably go on until the end of the month, and we'll probably have like a video of us donating it as a group, just so we can all feel like our community's standing together, because that's what we need to do against the long winter. So thank you for this. It's going to be up on the Night's Watch Twitter. It's pinned for the rest of the month, so please check it out. And I'll probably be retweeting it throughout every few days here and there. And also contact Tina if you want any information. That's at Lost Dogs 20 once again. And I want to already thank Vicky, Elise, and Mormo for donating. So thank you guys. Before the raffle even went up, they were talking to me on Twitter and texting, so they were asking what's going on, and I was telling them about, there's a raffle coming up, and they got excited and they really wanted to help out. So thank you guys already. Once again, Vicky, Elise, and Mormo, thank you again for already donating. And I see some people already in the chat excited to donate. So get in contact with me, and we'll get this roll started. So thank you to our community, sure. And I would like to give, we love giving back to you guys as well.
Twin Peeps would not be the same without Tina's guidance in some areas, for sure. She's definitely helped us get through many zones. We zone out. But yeah, definitely it's a good cause, guys, and we support it.
And speaking of community, we can't forget our new segment that we started to give back to the community as well, is the Take the Black segment. So we have another member of the Night's Watch, a new member of the Night's Watch, and that's our winner of the first ever Night's Box, Billy. So congratulations to Billy for winning the Night's Box and taking the black. So there's him in his Night's Watch shirt, as well as him getting his little Funko Pops and his Funko Legacy right behind that, the Brienne of Tarth. So congratulations again to Billy. And thank you for taking the black. Now your watch has begun. One more note about the community as well. I don't know if he's in here yet, but oh yeah, he is. I want to give a very special shout out to Jeff. Jeff Holt, our newest member of the family. He actually just recently started following us, and I think his tweet activity towards all of the OSP family, the Night's Watch, everything has been so consistent, like just liking everything, retweeting everything, commenting on everything. He's been very supportive of all our material, and so I want to give him a special shout out. And I did, as Lord Commander, promote him to become the Maester of the Night's Watch. So congratulations to Jeff on your promotion, or your new job title, however you like to look at it. So thank you very much, Jeff, for all your support.
Not only is he consistent, he's clever, and we appreciate it.
So I guess now we can jump into any thoughts you got, or any things you guys want to say before we get into the actual episode itself?
No.
I'm ready.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just also bringing up the thing, so I was hoping for some vamping, but let's go. All right. So.
I mean, this episode.
All right, we're good.
All right.
So the episode starts out with the world's strongest man, not Artie. Was that his name from Pete and Pete? Artie? Yeah, right? I think so.
I missed this reference. Yeah.
Oh, you guys never saw Pete and Pete? Come on.
We saw it. I just don't remember the character name.
Oh.
Besides Pete.
Okay, well, Mark Henry is also the world's strongest man if you watch wrestling. Or you can talk about the Mountain, who's legitimately the world's strongest man, right? But that's not the character we're talking about. We're talking about Braun, who actually pulls Jamie out of the river. So now we know it's a river, not just a lake. They said it was down the river. With Jamie being, he can't really swim with one arm and weighed down by all armor. But Braun's able to pull him out and bring him to the other side of the river and save his life. And he's like, the only reason I saved you is for the sheer fact that you still owe me a castle, and I know you'll probably keep your word and get me the castle when it's all said and done. And then Jamie's starting to question, the fight, because he's like, can we actually win? Because that was just one dragon and she has 3. And that's when Braun's like, I don't have to worry about that. You're going to have to worry about the dragons. I'm out as soon as I can be. When I can't see us winning, I'm out. But you better not forget about that castle. This is a pretty clever opening scene. Give us the payoff right away with what happened at the end of the last episode. Do you guys have any thoughts about this?
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that Jamie, and I was hoping maybe Braun got away, but I was hoping at least Jamie was captured again. I thought that would have been really interesting, especially because I thought he was going to have to ditch his armor to get. It's that might be like my least favorite thing about the season so far, is just the armor, because it just doesn't work. Like I didn't realize we were making the world's strongest man joke until you said the armor stuff, and yeah, it totally bugged me. But other than that, the scene was good. Braun is great as always.
Yeah, if I was Braun, I would be out of there too. He says his deal ends, their alliance ends with dragons, and I'm totally with him on that point. And especially with things that I won't get into yet because it's later in the episode. I think like it might be time for the Braun and Jamie bromance to move on to its next phase.
They need to see new people.
They do.
Eric in the chat saying that Jamie being captured in season 2 was cool. So if we saw that again, like Tom was saying, that'd been awesome. And Corey is also saying that Braun and Jamie just walking away was kind of disappointing. Maybe getting them captured would have been better. I do agree with that, but you know, we did have to have him report back, which we'll see in a little while. But speaking of dragons, we have the Lannister army, and I guess some of the Tarly army there as well, coming to this little mountain summit. I don't know what you want to call it, a hill or something. And Daenerys is there along with her lieutenants, and Tyrion's there, and obviously Drogon is there. And she says, you know, you should bend the knee or die. And so some of them start bending their knee. And then Drogon is a little bit more convincing when he growls or roars, whatever you want to say he does. And most of them bend their knee except for some of the Tarly men you see in the back. We see, especially notably Randall and Dickon. And then Daenerys calls them out. So I kind of wondered, like, how did she know to call them out like that? They're lords. But I also saw that they had armor on as opposed to some of the other people who just have like leather mail. They actually have like iron or whatever you want to call it, steel plated armor. So I guess that's what made the difference. So she could tell that they're highborn. So she called them out and says, you know, will you yield or bend the knee? And they said no. And you know, Tyrion's trying to convince them, saying like, listen, you first pledge your allegiance to the Queen of Thorns. What's her name again?
Olenna.
Thank you. Yeah. And then you went to Cersei. You know, why can't you go to Dany? And he's like, for the sheer fact that Cersei was born in Westeros and lived here all her life, as opposed to Dany, who was born but then left or was taken away, I guess, in a sense.
His family isn't native from the area.
Right. So he says, no, we won't bend the knee. And then, you know, Dickon's like, I won't either. And Randall, trying to, I guess, preserve his family line, is saying, no, you should stay, yield to her. But he's like, no, I won't. And then we have this, you know, Tyrion once again tries to convince Dany to let them go. She's like, well, no, I said they're going to burn, or, you know, they're going to bend the knee or die, and I have to stand by that. And then you see this moment where, Randall grabs Dickon's arm for a second, and then they burn. And seeing the dragon fire is really cool. It's not just they don't just get, like, melted. They get, like, turned to ash, and the ash, like, blows away. It's a really cool effect that we don't see that much when people, like, burn, I guess. I thought that was pretty cool. So this is the scene of, like, this is them being burned. Well, you don't really see it, but, like, that's the coolest part image I could get. So I thought it was pretty cool. What did you guys think of that scene with the whole bending the knee or not?
Yeah, that shot that you showed first with Drogon, like, perched up with Dany and all the people standing in front of them is one of my favorite shots that they've had of the show of all time. I think that's stunning to look at. It looks like an old painting, and I loved every bit of that. Dany's fucking awesome. I love when she does stuff that's, like, bordering towards the dark side, if you will. I don't think she was that bad in this case. A lot of people are thinking it was pretty harsh with her doing that, but she has to stick to her guns. If she says that she's going to burn them, if they choose not to do this, she has to stay on track and do that so that she could be taken seriously by people. So while I don't think she was over the line, I think that, like, I'm still hoping they're going to push her towards being a bad guy, because I still want it a lot.
Yeah, I mean, compare this to the Bay of Dragons. I mean, it's pretty much the same results, and Tyrion didn't have the same reaction, but obviously he's a little bit more invested because these are his people. Like, he fought alongside these people during Blackwater. Like, he's invested with them, so obviously he might be concerned now more than before, but her behavior has always been consistent.
Yeah.
I think she was just tired of people not bending the knee. You can only say it so many times before you go nuts, and she's at least said it 5 times to Jon before she got here. So
really, I think that Dickon was the one who's dumb, because, like, even his dad was, like, nodding at him to, like, kneel. He's the last one in his family, and they just switched sides, and he was already kind of torn about the whole thing to begin with. So I think he should have probably knelt.
Yeah, I was half expecting him to be like, "Do you really?" For Randall to be like, "Sam will not be the only Tarly."
Yeah, right.
Like, get up or bend the knee. I mean, the opposite.
Well, see, the thing that people are forgetting is Sam can't really inherit it, right? Because he joined the Night's Watch, so he gave up all claims. But don't forget, there's Tarla. The woman can inherit it, so she can become the the lady of what's her name? I can't think of their
House
place.
Tarly.
Yeah, house. No, I mean I was thinking their castle name. I can't remember.
Hornhill.
Hornhill, yeah, Hornhill. Thank you, Hornhill. Yeah. So Tarla is probably the Lord of or Lady of Hornhill now. So that works out for me. I'm fine with that. I don't need Sam to get any promotion. You hear that, Raul? Sam can stay where he is. Well, we know he doesn't stay where he is, but we'll get to that later.
I at least he has a safe haven for Gilly and baby Sam now.
Right.
Like, I don't think mom and the sister would have any problem.
Yeah, they really didn't like her, so that's good. And I know this is the first time I ever live tweeted during the show because I really like to focus on the show, but it wasn't that bad live tweeting. And I saw Eric was live tweeting at the same time because our tweets were coming like in succession, and he was dragging Mad Queen all the way. Mad Queen. Everything was like Mad Queen about him. So you see where his mind is going. So I just want to note that. So
On Mad Queen.
I know a lot of people have been like complaining about all the time jumps and that. Don't worry about that. They're moving the show fast. That's what they got to do. So we see Jamie get to Cersei right away now, and he's reporting back saying like, "Hey, look, I don't know if we could win. There's dragons, and there was just one dragon. They kicked their ass, and they have 3, and like your scorpion didn't work." And that's like I've been complaining about this forever. Like not forever, but like the ballista is called a scorpion, right? And Qyburn's like someone who brought him back from the dead. He invented like an antidote, and he reverse engineered poison that was already used. Why do not coat the thing in poison, knowing that even if you scrape it, you might hurt it, not knowing that you might not pierce the armor? So it's like, and it being called a scorpion, it probably should have been laced with poison in my mind. But he comes back, says, our weapons were useless against it pretty much, except for the one shot that Bronn got in. And Cersei's like kind of doesn't really care. She's like, we're gonna either fight and die or submit and die. Her whole outlook is just death. That's all they have left. So let's just fight, and see how far we get. That's how she sees it. What do you guys think of the way she's approaching this?
I mean, Cersei is Cersei. She's, I think, delusional. She's kind of like blinded by her just like wrath, and we all know she's gonna have some sort of tragic end. What I wanted to say about I agree, time jumps are necessary. They've been around since the beginning of the show. There was a Ned time jump, and no one complains about that.
In season 1, yeah, like early on.
Oh god, what was the other thing? But he's talking. Oh yeah, I was saying this thing about the scorpions the other day. The only thing I'm thinking is maybe he needs a dragon to test poison on to understand dragon physiology, because maybe the same poisons don't work on dragons.
Because I don't believe that he is poisoned at this point. Would definitely know, because we're assuming so.
Right.
Is going quick.
And Drogon had to fly back.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I think if they're not poisoned now, they may be poisoned later. And it wouldn't be a horrible idea.
Well, I do believe a dragon is going down. I just don't think this is
right.
when it's going down, and I will talk about that later.
And speaking of poison, like one other thing that was revealed in this scene between Cersei and Jamie is that he said that, hey, Tyrion wasn't the person who murdered Joffrey, who poisoned Joffrey. It was actually Olenna. And she kind of didn't want to believe it first, but like, no, he's like, listen, our son was an asshole. Who would you rather, if you were Olenna, who would you rather have Marjorie marry, Joffrey or Tommen? So, and she kind of accepted it at that point, but she still hates Tyrion. That's not going to change. Speaking of the dragon, though, we have Daenerys come back to Dragonstone and land. And in this scene, you saw, we were talking about all the acting we see just from like people who are not even talking, just from their facial expressions. Like we talked about Theon and a lot of just face acting. And we saw that in Jaime's hug a little bit later in this episode. But there's this dragon's acting, man. It made me feel like there was really a dragon there and it was acting. So Jon takes off his glove and touches Drogon. And Daenerys is kind of taken aback by it, like, wow, wait, this is something right here that's happening, So, what do you guys think of this? This is a beautiful moment, and just like I don't know, are we gonna give this guy a primetime Emmy?
Look,
I did love this. Yeah.
The first off, the animators just having Drogon running, that was amazing. But the facial expression that they're able to have, like, Drogon is the happiest kitty I've ever seen, and I love the little chirps they did as babies. So when John was touching him, I was like, chirp, 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 chirp. She was there. She knows.
Yeah.
And when
The eye too.
oh, well, you explain the eye.
Like when cats are really comfortable, their pupils get really big. So it was cute that his pupils were little, and then when John touched them, they got big.
And then he started.
It was
purring.
like a nice touch. Yeah. I call this hashtag Drojon, and I'm a big fan of it. And yeah, we were talking about Danny being. Yeah. We were talking about Danny really liking the response that he was getting from Drogon. Do you want to tell them what I said during this part?
Okay. So John's chilling, touching the dragon, and like Danny's like watching, and Kimber's just watching the episode. She's like, man, she's probably so moist right now.
I was gonna say she probably felt the heat between her thighs, and it wasn't dragon.
Nice.
It wasn't the dragon.
So from there, we have one of my favorite moments of this show. They turn, and the Dothraki are approaching, and they're kind of in a weird formation, meaning that someone's probably behind them. And that's when we get the movie saying, "This is your friend," and it's Jorah, and Jorah is back with Danny. And that, like, I right now I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. But when I watched it, I screamed out loud. I got goosebumps. I was so touched by that. And like, I know there's some like trolling on the internet. People are tweeting like, "Oh, she called him his friend again, like her friend." So like, he's back in the friend zone right away. But you know, that was just, that's not taking anything away from this moment for me. It was a great moment. We've been waiting like so long to see him back in the good graces of his grace. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? That it would just touch me. Like,
well, you know that I think Jorah is a creepy old pervert, and I have a lot of problems with him. And I don't think he deserves anything that Danny doesn't want.
All right, so Tom, what did you think?
Well, I don't think the friend zone exists.
Yeah, you got the wrong people. It was nice to see them together. I think he's probably dying soon, is how I feel about it. Yeah.
That's going to come up later. So prepare for that in our caller section. Anything to talk about that scene? Because I'm going to go on to the next scene after that.
I will say that Morgan was extremely excited because I talked to him the next day, and he doesn't usually get to come to this show because it's very late for him with the time zone. But he was extremely excited. He said you should have seen the state of him. He was a mess. But he's also worried about Jorah.
I will say, confirmation that Danny and John are definitely hooking up because Jorah showed up.
Yep.
Like,
yeah.
Whenever a love interest is about, like, to clench it, we have to understand. Like you said, she did be like, "Oh, hi, buddy."
Yeah.
Confirming there is a line there.
And you should look at how you look at Jorah's eyes when he looks at John and Danny looking at each other too. It's like that green-eyed monster of jealousy.
I was really hoping to see him look at John and then to look down at the hilt and then see Longclaw.
Yeah.
Like that hasn't been addressed yet.
Eric's talking about in the chat, will Jorah want Longclaw back? I think that we will probably get John offering Longclaw to Jorah, but him declining.
But
it.
will he know it's Longclaw? Remember, because the hilt was changed from a bear to a wolf.
He'll still know
Longclaw,
it. It's the same
yeah.
style.
I guess we'll see. That's be interesting to see what happens with that. Speaking of Stark children, we go to Winterfell, and we have Bran, who actually walked into ravens that flew north from Winterfell, and you see them going past Eastwatch because there was a different. Wasn't the Castle Black? It was actually past Eastwatch, and they come across an army of the dead, and it flies closer and closer, and then they see the Night King, and he's like just shakes his head to the right and sees the ravens, and they all get scared, and he flies, and then they all fly away. So that was a pretty cool scene. And then when it goes back to Bran saying, "Hey, listen, we need to send out some ravens." So that, I mean, it's a pretty short scene. I don't know. Do you guys have anything to say about that?
Yeah, I thought it was really cool. It looked like he was chaining between the ravens. Like, it didn't look like he had control out of all of them all at once because they kept their eyes kept working in and out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's cool. It looked like he was just chaining in between each crow to get a bunch of them
right
far away. I just thought it was done really well.
I think it gives like various like aspects. Like you see all these different viewpoints, and then they can make into one big image for him. So I think that's pretty cool. That's what you're saying about the chaining.
he thought for a second we might see an ice spider. That would have been really cool.
Yeah.
I just don't know if they have the budget for an ice spider, because like we're assuming the next 2 episodes are going to be crazy, right? And
Yeah.
that dragon battle, that loot train fight had to have been like a huge chunk of the budget. So
Well, if
I
you
don't
think
know.
about it, shortening the season, so we're getting 3 less episodes, so we're getting that budget of those 3 less episodes. Maybe that can go towards the thing. So yeah, I really thought I was gonna see some maybe giants and some ice spiders like that. Like I really thought that too. Maybe we'll next episode or the final episode. We'll see what happens, or maybe they'll save it for the last season. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was a cool scene. So speaking of those ravens that he sent out, we got one going to the Citadel, and they got the raven that came from Bran talking about, the army of the dead marching. And this is when Sam walks in and he hears the Maesters talking, and they're kind of taking it as a joke. He's like, "No, that's Brandon Stark of Winterfell. You got to listen to him. I know him. He went north of the wall, and he's the only person who's can't come back. He survived there and come back. Like, and he was just he was a broken child. He was paralyzed and everything, and he still came back. So maybe you should take it, take his word." And the Maesters are still skeptical. They're like, you know what? We'll investigate it, but we won't take any action. And then that kind of pissed Sam off. He wasn't happy about that. What do you guys? Any thoughts?
I think I think Slugworth definitely
Slughorn.
Slughorn, my bad. Slugworth is from Willy Wonka, right?
I don't know.
Anyway, I think he wants to help Sam and he believes Sam, but he also has to keep his cred amongst other maesters. That's why he's been peppering like these things in front of Sam, because we find out more later some material he left for Sam to re-record. So I think the other guy is trying, but I agree with Sam at this point. It's a little ridiculous.
I don't have strong feelings either way
all right.
at the moment. Yeah, I mean, it sucks, but what does he expect? It is going to, of course, sound ridiculous to these people, and they are people who need evidence, So I'm not terribly surprised that they would respond that way, but I can see Sam's frustration.
Yeah, so from there, I mean, so yeah, now you see the thought train of Sam, like saying, "Hey, do I really need these guys? I can just read the books and learn from what I can from the books, and then go from there." So we do see the seeds of like doubt in the Maester system for him starting to plant. From there, we go back to Dragonstone, and we see Tyrion and Varys sharing a glass of wine, and they're talking about a raven that. Well, first they're talking about how Daenerys burned the Tarleys, and Varys like, "You should have stopped her." He's like, "Well, what can I do? I'm her hand, not her head." Then he's like, "What do you have there?" And Varys like, "I have a raven from Bran to King Snow, the King of the North." And so Tyrion goes, "What does it say?" And he goes, "It's a sealed letter." And then he takes a sip and he goes, "So what does it say?" And he tells him, it's like, "Nothing good." And then we go to the war room, Dany's war room, and they're sitting around, and Jon says, "Listen, my brother sent a raven saying that the Night's King army is advancing towards Eastwatch. We really need to go and stop them. I'm gonna have to go. There's nothing I can do unless you want to help." And she's like, and leave my kingdom unguarded. Cersei will definitely take action against that. And then Tyrion's like, "Wait a second. What if we can convince Cersei that there's a bigger evil, instead of us?" And so they start formulating plans, and like maybe we can bring a dead back. And I think we guys were talking about this. I think you guys mentioned this before a few episodes ago. Like bringing someone back. Bringing back a White Walker, or not just a White Walker, maybe just a white, and showing everyone, and maybe showing Cersei. So they start to formulate a plan, like saying, "How can we do it?" And there's 2 halves to that plan: bringing the White King, bringing the White back, and then also getting into King's Landing without dying. So that half of the battle is fought by Jorah saying, not Jorah, sorry, Davos saying, "I could smuggle you in," if that comes to But the other half is going north of the wall and getting a White, and that's probably easier said than done. Jon's like, "I have to go no matter what." Well, first Jorah's the one who says, "I'll go. I came back to serve you. Let me serve you." And then Jon's like, the wildlings will help, but they might not listen to you. I have to go. And Dany's like, "Listen, I didn't give you permission to go." He goes, "With all due respect, I don't need your permission. I'm the King of the North. I'm going to do it. I trusted you and I came here. You could have killed me. You had dragons. You had everything. I came just with a small group of men. I trusted you. Now trust me. And then she says, yeah, you can go. What'd you guys think of that scene? I thought it was very well done. And we start. I don't know if the plan is good. One thing I had to say about the plan is like, how far can the white get away from the white? Does the Night King have to be close to control it, or does it just break apart? Like what happens when it goes south of the wall too, into warm weather? So what do you guys think of the whole plan and the idea of what they're trying to do?
I am concerned about that because, of course, they tried to take back that hand that was from a white early on, and that didn't work out. It seemed to deteriorate as they got closer, further south. So I don't know if like they're intact, that helps, but you would imagine that if the cold is keeping them fresh and the magic is keeping them alive, that the farther that they move away from both of those things, the more bigger possibility that they're gonna get gross is.
I mean, also the hand went down south during the summer and now it's winter, so it might be chillier than before, so that might be a factor. Also,
but it stopped moving too, as Eric points out in the chat.
But if you cut off a zombie's hand, usually the zombie's hand will stop moving, depending on the lore. But that doesn't mean it depends what. I guess that's the brain skull. I don't know, because we've seen skeletons animated and they don't have brains. But oh god, what was I going with this? Oh, yeah, I liked it.
He lost it. Back to Kal.
Okay, so from there we go back to Winterfell, and the Northern Lord. You got it, Tom, back?
No.
Okay.
I have a lot to say about this. I'm excited about this.
Okay, so we go back to the Northern Lords, right? And they're starting to say, hey, look, the King of the North. We voted him King of the North, and he should be in the North. Why is he going everywhere else? He should be here. And then they're second guessing their support backing of Jon. Like maybe we should support Sansa. And Arya's watching all this, thinking, like, why is she not speaking up like more? But like then they, after she walks away, they're walking together and says, you should have spoken up. They're disrespecting Jon. She goes, listen, I'm the Lady of Winterfell now, and I have to listen to my people's, arguments, regardless what they say. I have to listen to it, and from there, I'll make a wise decision. So you kind of see her becoming molded into like a thoughtful leader, or like at least one that has common sense. But that might also sow some seeds of doubt in the rest of the family and what's going on, especially in Arya, because her and Sansa didn't have the best of relationships when they were children. So, they still are children, but you know what I mean, when they were younger. So they're saying, you should. So Arya's becoming wary of her, and then one more thing that puts a little bit more like the knife in deeper is that when they go, she sees that Sansa has her parents' chamber, the mother and father Eddard and Catelyn's chamber, and she goes, why do you have this? And he's like, you always like nice things, you always want to be better than everyone else. So Tom, you said you had some stuff to say about that scene. What do you got?
Yeah, they're putting on a really good performance. They're not mad at each other at all. This is all a plot to get Littlefinger against the wall. Against the wall.
You think so?
Not the wall. Yeah, because they're having an argument in front of everybody in the hallway. When they go into the chambers, they continue to have an argument with the door wide open. There's no way Littlefinger can outsmart Brambot. I think that's exactly what my friend James said today.
Yeah, he did.
See, I like that theory and all, but like, remember, fart bladder. This is we're all formulating all these thoughts, and then what if they just screw us over again? Because I love that. That theory, but maybe they're not. Maybe they are trolling us or something. Who knows?
I don't know, because even if that letter's presented, what's Sansa gonna say? Yeah, I was forced by Joffrey to write this letter. Like,
well, he didn't really get up to the letter part.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna get to the letter in a little bit, so we'll talk about that.
That's my second half of evidence.
Okay, yeah. Well, I have something to say about that as well when we get to that. The next thing we talk about. Oh, Kimber, do you have anything to say about this Winterfell scene, or? Do you want me to
I am worried about a fart bladder thing. That's why I'm not fully committed to like Tom's theory. I think if it could just be what they're presenting it as at face value, that she's saying, like, arguing with Sansa, that it's bothering her, that she's feeling like Sansa is the one who wants control and might be doing what's in her best interest and not what she should be doing to help Jon.
I think either could be correct, because keep in mind, Bran was warm when he saw Arya, but he was not warm when he saw Sansa. So Sansa could be up to some shit. I don't know. Chaos is a ladder.
Okay, so we go back to King's Landing, and this is where Davos and Tyrion land on, off from the pier. They're not on the pier; they're on a little shore, and they're the callback to the Battle of Blackwater, and he's saying, "This is where you killed my son." I mean, that was kind of a little knife in the heart. I felt it when he said that. Even though we didn't see his son for that much in the show, it's just kind of still hurt. You see Tyrion walk away, and you see, this is where they split up because Davos says he needs to go to Flea Bottom, and Tyrion is on his own mission, And this is where we see Bronn lead Jaime down to the dungeons where we saw the dragon skulls before and the scorpions first revealed. And he goes, "We're going to be training down here, but you're not going to be swinging your sword against me. You're going to be swinging against this guy." And, this is the first time they've seen each other, right? Since, Tyrion saw Jaime at the battle, but they didn't interact. This is the first time they interacted since Jaime freed Tyrion, right? Correct me if I'm pretty sure that's the last time they saw him. When the day that he killed his father, their father, I should say, but is it? And you guys want to talk about this scene? Because I got to bring up some other stuff right now. Tommy knows what I'm talking about right now. So what do you guys think about that?
I think it was a not, because it was definitely like the same situation. It was like an underground. They're in the dungeons when Jaime freed him, so it was kind of the same setting. Yet, I did think it was interesting. Tyrion wanted to meet around a bunch of dead dragons, but all in all,
for me, I think the best thing about this little portion is Davos. Like, he was cracking me up this whole episode. I thought he was really like stealing the show, which is exciting to me because we're both big fans of Davos. So I didn't want to skip over that part for sure. But yeah, this meeting between Jaime and Tyrion would go about what I would think, based on how the show has been, what I would think would happen between them realistically. So it felt like, it wasn't too like extremely exciting for me or anything, but it felt appropriate.
Yeah, I have more to say about this when more things are revealed later in the episode about this meeting.
But just Jaime's acting, he keeps repeating the same line, like, "Why are you here?" And then like Tyrion's trying to play to his emotions, like, "Listen, father wanted to kill me regardless," and all this kind of stuff. And he's like, "Why are you here?" Like, kept saying the same thing, like his mind was steadfast. Whereas Tyrion's trying to, bring back that bond, saying like, we had that love, like find that emotion again. And Jaime wasn't seeing it really. But ultimately Jaime loves Tyrion, so we didn't see, obviously I don't think he killed him, because I think we do see Tyrion later in the episode, right? So yeah, we do, obviously, at the beach scene. Okay, yeah. So the other half of this group, right? Davos went to Flea Bottom. So let's see. We have actually a little video clip of what Davos found in Flea Bottom. So here it goes.
Gendry? Gendry!
So that was another great clip of Tom was actually there too. He's just in the background in his car waiting for Davos. He's like, so Davos, if they got into shit, Tom was in the car ready to drive them away out of King's Landing. So yes, it was very well set up. Unfortunately, when I was getting ready to live tweet, I saw some, like, I know people are saying Gendry's coming back, but I didn't know if that was true and if he was going to come back. But like I saw, like right before I was starting to live tweet, I saw like, "Oh, can't wait to see Gendry tonight." Like someone like leaked it, or I guess it was from a spoiler that was leaked or something. I don't know what it was, but I saw it and I was like, "Oh man, is he really going to be in this episode?" And then as soon as I saw the what do they call it, the Steel Road or whatever they call that, where all the blacksmiths are, I'm like, "Oh, Gendry's coming." And then you see the hammer. I was just really hoping to see the bull helmet. I don't know. What do you guys think of that scene?
Well, his name was in the credits.
Yeah, I didn't really see that. I was looking down and tweeting, so I didn't see that. Yeah, go.
Yeah, I mean, this was really exciting. Obviously, we were team Where's Gendry when we went to your party, so
right.
we've been wondering this ourselves.
Oh my god!
I mean, did we talk about his weapon yet? Are we at that part?
Yeah, you can talk about it now. I was gonna bring it up in the next scene when he actually on the beach. But go ahead. Yeah, you can talk about it.
I mean, when I saw him pull out a big ass warhammer, obviously in the style of his father, with the freaking Baratheon sigil like on it. He's pretty ballsy for doing that. I literally walked out of the room because I couldn't handle like how crazy that was to see. I was really pumped.
And not even the hammer. Before that, he was screaming, Robert, because he's just like, I've just been wanting to put my, like, he kind of alluded to his hammer then, because he's like, I've just been putting hammer to steel, and I want to take it to something else. Like, I want to do something. Let's do something. He's so ready to go. And I love how Davos was like, oh, I didn't think I'd find you here. I thought you might have been still rowing.
Fan service.
A little tip of the cap to the fans. Yep. So he's like, look, I'm ready to go. I don't care about my shop I have here. Let's go. So that, he grabs his warhammer with the Baratheon sigil, like you said. They go to the beach and they're approached by 2 guards. I saw this on one of the 10 things you might have missed videos. Is that one guard was the same guy who played Ned Stark in the parody play from season 6, I guess it was, that Arya watched. So I guess he got a promotion. I don't know, or if it's not meant to be the same actor. I mean, the same character. I'm not sure. But Davos, is able to maneuver, saying 15 gold dragons each, giving them a bribe for them to walk away. Because he covers the warhammer as they walk up to it, and says, "I have like fresh crab meat or whatever it is. Pickled crabs or something like that. I forgot what it was. Some special
crab, I think.
Fermented crab. That's it. Fermented crab." And it'll give you an erection or whatever forever. So like, okay, we'll take it and go. And as they're walking away, Tyrion has perfect timing. He walks back at the same time. They see him. They're like, hey, aren't you that dwarf that we're looking for? And then, Davos tries the whole Jedi mind trick, saying this is not the dwarf you're looking for. It doesn't work. And that's when we see Gendry swing his warhammer, and he takes him out very well, like one to the side of the head and one straight in the face. So that was a really cool scene, and got to see Gendry in action. So you see that he does have some skills. Is this his one and done moment? I guess we'll talk about that when we get to the callers. But what do you guys think of that scene?
Yeah, I liked this a lot. Tyrion has the worst luck, man. Like, that's so Tyrion that he would wander up right at that moment. But it was nice to see instantly, okay, well, Gendry knows what he's doing. He could be useful here. The one thing that did stand out to me is that, of course, we know that Davos tells him a little bit later to not say who he is, but right here, he tells Tyrion, oh, this is Gendry, and Tyrion says he'll do,
Yeah.
So I don't know, like, how he thought he was going to tell people this is Gendry and then be like, oh, later this is Clovis.
Well, maybe he trusts Tyrion. He just has a relationship with Tyrion because they've been through.
Tyrion's the end of the king, though. I don't know. I
don't know. That's true. Yeah.
Why do you trust John? Yeah. I also I thought Tyrion was under the other part of the tarp at first. So when he paid them off, I was like, okay, good, they're getting away. And then I saw him coming down the steps, and I was like, oh no!
It was a good scene. I enjoyed it.
I think the weapons were under the tarp.
Well, the weapon was off to the side of the tarp, and when he threw the tarp went over the weapons. Yeah. But I thought
So he's saying he thought Tyrion would be under the part that he revealed, right? That's what you're saying?
Or no, like the other half, because only him revealed that one little spot.
I think it was just Dick, Crab, and weapon.
Same.
We don't leave King's Landing yet because we have Jaime go right back to Cersei and tell him, hey, I just met with Tyrion, and he has a plan that he wants us to band together against the White Walker invasion. And she's like still ruthless. She's saying like, oh, like, did you punish him? But she meant not Tyrion. She meant Bronn. Because Bronn set up the meeting because she has eyes everywhere still. Like no matter what, she knew about it, and yet she still let Jaime meet with him. So meaning that she's like, this actually might work to our advantage because if we can get her in close, maybe that we could use Father's tactics, so Tywin's tactics to defeat her. So maybe it's some like subterfuge or something like that could help kill Dany at close range. And then one last thing we get from that scene is that Cersei reveals that she's pregnant and she's going to tell everyone that Jaime's the father. So can we believe she's pregnant, or is she just doing this to keep them together? But maybe she is pregnant because, I saw somewhere on the internet that the books have been saying, later in the books have been saying she's been getting tighter in her dresses and stuff. So I know the prophecy says that she has 3 children, so maybe she'll die before the 4th is born, or there's a miscarriage, something happens. What do you guys think? She's pregnant, or is she faking it? It's the ploy?
I think she's really old to be pregnant. I think she's 40 in the first season of the show. So she's like damn near 50. That's pretty old. But I am with that she's not going to have another kid because of the Maggie the Frog thing. I know Tom has another theory, which I'm going to let him get to in a second. But I think she could potentially be lying or be miscarrying at some point, driving her into further madness. And Tom has his own theory.
Yeah, also, before that, I just don't want to forget Braun. I don't know if, like, does Cersei realize that Braun's also the one who is the only person to land a hit on the dragon and to save Jaime? Like, it's ridiculous
That's not how Cersei works.
I know. It's just crazy. Like, merits do mean nothing to her. But as far as the theory goes, could all this time, I know they don't talk about it on the show, it's more of a book theory. And speaking of the books, Jaime and her haven't been together in a while, so if she is pregnant, it's not Jaime's in the books. Could baby brother be the Valonqar and kill Cersei on his way out? And so, like you were saying, a miscarriage, or did she die of childbirth like her mother, Joanna? That's what I think might happen. I mean, I like Jaime killing her more, but
yeah, and a lot of them are talking about it in the chat, and some people are talking about maybe it's Jaime's gonna have to also kill her and his unborn child, which adds emotional stakes to that, as well as, like, I'm kind of on board with the Dany and Jon are the prince and princess who was promised, and Jaime is Azor Ahai theory, which would go along with him having to kill his beloved lion wife here.
What's the translation of, like, Azor? There's, like, some kind of thing
it's like
where
gold
it's
hand or something, literally.
It's like a syllable difference in Valyrian. That gold hand sounds almost just like Azor Ahai, or whatever. So that's interesting.
Well, if you remember my call-in that I showed you guys last week, I did think that maybe Jaime could be Azor Ahai. So, I would love that.
I know you would.
From there, we go back to Dragonstone, where Clovis meets Jon, but then reveals right away that I am Gendry, bastard of Robert Baratheon. Our fathers were friends. And then they kind of have this cool moment, which is like when we first see Ned and Robert meet on the Winterfell back in the pilot. He's like, "You got fat," and he goes, and then he gives him that. Ned gives him that look like, "You're talking about me? Look at you," kind of thing. So you kind of see that thing, like, he goes, "Oh, you're leaner than your father." He goes, "You're shorter than your father." Kind of, so that kind of banner that they have kind of really reflects their supposed fathers, right? And then John's like, he goes, "I want to join you," and John's like, "Can you hold the sword?" He goes, "I got a warhammer," and Dobbs like, "Yeah, he knows how to use it." So from there we go to the group leaving, and we see Jorah giving a kiss to Dany, kind of like a nice touching moment before they leave. That could seal the deal for him. I don't know. We also see the rest of the group leave, and they're heading to Eastwatch. Anything about the farewell that you guys want to say? Oh, remember Tyrion gives Jorah the coin, saying, "This is the one that's supposed to buy us the rest of our lives, but bring it back when you
bring that back."
Yeah, I'm sure we want to start by talking about Gendry and Jon bromance, because we liked that, and obviously it's really interesting to have these two, because they don't realize that their fathers aren't who they think they are, and that in fact, like, Rhaegar is Jon's father, and Gendry's father literally, like, caved his dad's chest in with a big ass hammer, and just having him say things like, "Oh, well, our fathers trusted each other," like, it's not really, it's their perceived situation is not really what it is, and it just makes it so interesting for us as viewers with this outside information and scope of the whole thing to watch the scene play out the way that it did.
What do you guys think about the farewell too? You think that's?
Oh yeah, Jorah's dead. I think he might become zombie Jorah. But question: the stuff that is in his skin, does that have shards of dragon glass in it? How will that affect the transformation? Will he be like a Benjen type thing?
Yeah,
because there's dragon glass involved. Maybe.
So maybe he'll be the thing that they can bring back, and because that way he could show that, that way he serves his purpose to his queen, right? And it's kind of like a halfway, like between being a white and not being a white because of the grayscale that he had or something like that. You know what I mean? So he could be the object they bring back. Yep.
Two things I was hoping for. One, I hope they do have a conversation between Gendry and Jon about Arya, because it felt really weird that neither one of them brought her up, because she's like a tie that they both have this interesting dynamic with her. And two, when they were leaving on the boat and Jorah looked back at Dany, I was really hoping he would turn back around, and right as he turned back around, Jon looked back at Dany. I was a little bummed that Jon didn't look back at Dany at all. But yeah, just two.
Remember, Jon's focus is always what's ahead of him, never what's behind him. That's how he is. So that would be a cool scene to see. What's probably the scene that got everyone up in arms was a scene back at this in Old Town now with Raoul's favorite character. You know, they're just transcribing stuff that he sees, and Gilly's reading about an annulment between Rhaegar and Elio Martell, and then a secret wedding that took place in Dorne afterwards. So we can presume here, possibly, it's just us presuming though, that secret wedding was between Rhaegar and Lyanna Stark, thus legitimizing Jon Snow, if Jon Snow ends up being the baby between Rhaegar and Lyanna, you know, which we're all pretty much assuming. But Jon, you know, Sam's hearing nothing of it. He's rather thinking about how many shits the guy took in his whole time as the maester or whatever it is. And she's like, no, those are the steps I was talking about or whatever. But everyone is yelling at the screen because they heard that. You know, people who are, you know, avid book readers and people who are looking to all the theories. I know some of my friends texted me saying, like, what did that mean? Like, I thought everyone's talking about that scene. What does that mean? Because they just watch the show. They don't know much about it. But for the people who, you know, who invested into the story as much as we do, that scene was a killer for everybody. That, you know, how did you guys react when you saw that scene?
This dude needs to listen to his lady friend. That's how I reacted.
Kimber had just ran to the bathroom at this point, because at this point everything
it looked like
happened.
A boring convo. So
and so I'm sitting here and she's like, "What's an annulment?" And I'm like, "Oh," because like who
Yeah,
else
I thought that too.
That we would care about. And Kimber's like, "What?" from the other room, and I'm like pausing it, and I'm like, I know what's coming, so I'm like trying to stay cool, but I was really excited. But
it was a good scene.
Sam shut her down. I was like, ah.
I like how they like play it out, like they're drawing it out, and like kind of doing little hints for all the fans, but eventually this whole story is going to be put together.
Yeah, I still want my Rhaegar flashback by the end of the season. I know they've teased us with who they might be casting as that character. I want to see Rhaegar and Lyanna interact with each other. It's very important to me to see that at some point. And whoever they cast as Rhaegar better be pretty, because in my mind he is.
Right. I think they should have the wedding. They should show the wedding scene. I think that would be really, and maybe have her be pregnant in the scene. So
that'd be great.
That'd be cool. But that's not the last we see of Old Town, because we see Sam borrow the cloak of invisibility from Harold Potter and take it to the library in the Citadel and grab some more books. And then he leaves and he says, "I'm tired of reading about better men. I think he wants to make himself a better man." And then they leave Old Town. So that's the last we see of Sam at the Citadel, I'm guessing. Any last thoughts about that?
He doesn't know that his father and brother.
Right.
So that's interesting too. That will he find out? Like, I'm curious to see how he's going to find that information out now.
Yeah, I think the best thing about Randall and Dickon dying are, one, I wasn't too invested in these characters. The brother seemed all right, but the dad was clearly awful. And two, now Sam is a little safer, because I thought that choosing to steal his family's sword was a death sentence for him. So it's a massive relief to see Randall Tarly out of the picture.
Do you think if they had that sword, they would have won the blue train? No.
Sword does not beat Dragonfire.
So now we go back to Winterfell and we see Arya just spying around a lot while following Littlefinger. And obviously we know Littlefinger knows what's going on. She sees him go into his chambers, then leaves, and then she uses a lockpick to get in, searches around for the note, finds it in the mattress, and it's actually the letter that he finds. The note that he finds is the letter that Sansa wrote to Robb, telling him to bend the knee after, you know, his father committed treason, and Robert is dead and all that. And remember, it was a letter that she wrote under duress in front of like Littlefinger, I think, and Varys and Cersei and all those people. So Arya doesn't know the the circumstances in which that letter was written, but she just sees it as Sansa telling Robb to bend the knee to Joffrey. So my question to you is, like, I know Tom wants to get into this, but my question to you was, like, when we first saw Littlefinger look back at the Maester Wilkin saying, you know, that Maester Maester Lewin had kept a meticulous record of all the ravens that came. Do you think there was another raven that he was more concerned about, that he wanted to get his hands on to avoid any problems for himself, and then he used this one as a method of disinformation? So what do you think about that? Do you think, or was this his thing the whole time? Was this his plot the whole time?
I mean, if Lewin made records of everything that came through there, then that means the letter that Catelyn burned about House Aaron, that means that survived somehow despite her destroying it. And that would be the information I'd be worried about if I was Littlefinger. So yes, I agree. This is disinformation. Also, I'd like to say I love that the letter was hidden in a little hole in the mattress because of the story that we got from Sansa about how they used to hide sheep dung in the holes of mattresses. Shift. Because that's, sheep shift. Oh, no, she was telling Tyrion this.
Yeah.
Sheep shift in the mattresses and sew it back up. So to find another hole in the mattress was kind of funny. Plus, maybe that hole in the mattress just proves how much of a creep Littlefinger is.
Yeah. Kimber, any thoughts on this?
I'm gonna let it play out on the show. I don't want to give myself expectations and be disappointed like I did last season. So I'm going to just see what they're doing. Because, like, honestly, I've been a little disappointed with what they've been doing with Littlefinger and Varys recently. I feel like they've written themselves into a place where they don't have anything to do with these two characters who are massively influential and interesting characters. So instead of disappointing myself with a lot of theories, their plot lines on the show, I'm just going to see what happens.
How do you feel about the mattress hole?
It's whatever.
Yeah, so I agree with that, because, like, this whole pretty much Game of Thrones started because of Varys and stuff like that. So, having them kind of take a back seat now is kind of, maybe that's what they wanted. Maybe that's what they intended, to watch it from, start, throw everything in there and just watch it as it cooks, kind of thing. Maybe, who knows? So for the final scene, we go back up. Now we go to a new place, Eastwatch, right? So we finally get to see Eastwatch, which is really cool. And we had this little meeting with, I think Gendry's there, and Jon, and Davos, and Tormund, and Jorah. And it was funny saying, like, Davos like, you are a liability. He's like, yeah, you are. And it's like, did you bring the big lady? And she's like, no, we didn't. But hopefully some of your wildlings can help. And he's like, well, we have some other people that are here as well. And it's the Brotherhood Without Banners, which has, the Hound, Beric Dondarrion, and Thoros Amir, that they captured. And they're like, let's all get together because we're fighting the same enemy, like in the video that Tom brilliantly put together earlier on, saying, we're on the same team because we're still breathing. And then we have this cool, like, walkout scene. The gate raises, they walk out, and they head north into the unknown because you can't really see any, probably further than like 20 feet or something. So that was a really cool end scene. So I mean, is there anything last you want to say about the scene before we go into the champion and the shame bell and the poll? And then the question I'm going to ask for the callers that you guys can answer as well is coming up about what's happening next week. So anything about this last scene that you saw?
I just love the history that these characters have with each other. Like the back and forths where you realize that, like, at least one member has a beef with another member in that group. And that's kind of cool. It's going to definitely have some tension when, like, shit goes down, like who's going to be looking out for who. I think they'll do a good job, but at the same time, you do have to question, at least understand why the characters question their allegiance. Because I don't think Gendry thinks that any of the Brotherhood really has his back. They were willing to sell him off before.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I liked it that there was tension there before a big battle.
Now, did you want us to give predictions now or wait for that?
No, I'm gonna do it for the call in. Like, who do you think it's gonna? I'm gonna ask, involve the callers as well as you guys. And any thoughts about the scene though, Kimber? The final scene?
Yeah, I liked it, man. Like, I love Tormund's affection for Brienne, and I think it's really adorable. And this was no exception to that. To throw a little shout out to that he's still thinking about her. And honestly, he'd probably just like to have her as an ally in this fight because she's a badass and he really respects her as a warrior. So that was a favorite of mine. It was cool to see them, like, again, people we've never had together in a room interacting. Just really interesting.
I want to see Tormund and the Hound watching Brienne and Arya fight and just watching both of their faces to see, because Tormund knows that Brienne is such a good fighter, like you're saying. She should be there more as an ally and a fighter than a love interest. But as
you gotta stay back to protect Sansa.
Yeah, for sure.
And Arya now too.
But just to see, like, for Tormund to see this little girl be able to keep up with the big woman is going to be interesting.
I hope that the Hound tells him how Brienne beat him up. I'm sure Tormund would love to hear that. Oh, he's
gonna be like,
story.
"Oh, you lucky son of a bitch!" That's gonna be so good. Like, yeah, left me in a field to die. Oh man, you're so lucky.
What a woman.
So that brings us. You guys talking a lot about Brienne right now, but unfortunately, she wasn't in this episode. So I want to know. I'm going to go Tom first. Who was your champion of the episode?
You have it's obvious. It's Gendry. What a great way to bring the character back. No bullshit. I love that how straightforward he is. He's seen some shit. Good thing they didn't stop off, or he didn't run back into Melisandre, Dragonstone. Oh no, she went back to Volantis, right? We assume.
Something.
She said she was leaving Volantis, but she's gonna come back to Westeros to die.
No, it's a good thing they didn't run into each other. But yeah, Gendry was just great throughout this, and I think he's gonna continue to be into the full. I know this isn't the death thing. I think he's gonna live. Because how great would it be for him to eventually get Storm's Watch back? My buddy James
Storm's
again.
End.
Storm's End back. Storm's Watch. That'd be great. Storm's End back, and then if he married Arya, join the houses back together.
Because that's what they wanted. I have a son, you have a daughter. Kimber?
So,
oh yeah, sorry. Kimber, who's your champion?
Yeah, I'm gonna go a different direction. I'm gonna pick Davos Seaworth. Like Davos is my dude. I loved every line that came out of his mouth tonight. I thought he was really funny, and that he really moved the plot forward. And I gotta pick Davos. It was a great episode for him for me this time.
Yeah, I also really like Davos, but I'm gonna have to give my champion to Jorah this week because I mean, like, he came back from grayscale. I always like those guys to come back from adversity, and he came back to the woman he loved, and he was welcome back, even though it's just as a friend again. He was still welcome back, and he wants to serve her, and that's what he's probably gonna die doing. And so I really like that scene, and I had to give my champion to Jorah. On the other hand, though, we also had to go to the shame bell. So I'm going to go with my shame bell, and I'm going to give my shame bell to Sam. Shame, shame, shame. Because he's an idiot for not listening to Gilly. And I don't know, man. He just left the Maesters. Like he said, he's all gung-ho about becoming Maester. And just because, what's his name? Maester Ebros not like bending his will to what Sam believes, or neither any of the Maesters. Who is he? He's still a trainee, right? He should be listening to them, learning from them. And I'm sure Master Ebros had some Mr. Miyagi shit going on, saying like, you read these books, you're probably gonna get some knowledge from it, just like how you did for the treatment to the grayscale. Kimber, who do you give this shame bell to?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and shame Dickon Tarly.
Okay. Shame.
What are you doing, man? Like, he just threw away the future of his family, basically. It's in a pretty rough situation because he chose to do that for an ally that he just got. Even his father was like, don't do this. So I think he made a big mistake and hurt his family and their name a lot with this one.
Tom, who do you give your shame bell to?
I can't remember the dude's name, but the head of the Knights of the Vale, as well as Glover.
Okay, so Glover and I forgot the other guy's name, but all right, shame.
How you gonna bend the knee and like you're the ones who like stepped up and did it first? Like, where's Lyanna? If Lyanna Mormont was here, she'd keep the two in line. But like, how are you? Like, I'm not surprised with Glover, but I'm kind of surprised by Royce.
Yeah,
especially with how much he doesn't like Littlefinger. That you would think he would just keep things chill for a while.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go. That sound means we're gonna go to our Raven from Castle Black and take a look at our weekly poll. So Kimber, will you do the honors?
Sure, Cal put up a poll on the Night's Watch page, and we got some good results for this one. He said, "What's the Eastwatch headline?" And the winner, coming in at 59% this week, is John is not a bastard. So we knew that John was not who his parents said he was for a while now, but just John is not a bastard is a huge thing in the story. So not surprising there. Second place, we had 24% for Gendry's back. Also a huge deal in the story. This episode was full of a bunch of really important information in between all the action. Next up, Cersei is preggers, in quotes there, 14%. Again, it's still up in the air on whether she's telling the truth or if that's going to play out the way that she thinks it is. But it's an important headline nonetheless. And then we had a 3% for some other comments. Some suggestions. Gilly finds all 3 Blues Clues, coming at us from Beautifully Nerdy. Gilly needs more credit, she says. Chris Fish Dish on Twitter says, "Whites can't cross wall, magic in the foundations." So that's about it for the poll this week.
All right, so I guess we can start taking callers. But while you're taking callers, I'd like to ask, I guess since Tom is probably dialing it in, Kimber, what do you think is going to happen? So the question I'm posing to the callers and to you guys is, who do you think is going to survive? Who do you think is going to die in the next week's episode? Which we still don't have the name for yet. I don't think it's got one up yet, so we can't say what next week's episode is going to be called. But go ahead, Kimber, and then Tom. Who do you think is going to survive? Who do you think is going to die?
Sure, we're excited that we get to watch this one with Morgan when he's in town, by the way, because he's a huge fan of the White Walkers as well. But Tom and I were talking about this, and I think we're pretty much on the same page. We think that they're going to be in really bad shape. Maybe Dany might have to come save them with the dragons. This would be an insane time for them to lose a dragon and maybe have it resurrected and become the, as James called it, the Blue Eyes White Dragon. And be on the bad guys team. So I think that's what I'd like to see.
Any prediction on who you think is going to die, though? Or who's going to...
I think Beric and Thoros are toast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tom, who do you think?
I agree. Because I was thinking, I'm like, all right, well, the Hound still has to meet up with Arya, Brienne, and I still think Clegane is going to happen. And then we have, who else in the group? Gendry. Again, I want him to survive, so him and Arya could... Really, anyone who's interacted with Arya is going to live.
I think Beric and Thoros are screwed, and maybe if Jorah dies, I like the idea of him becoming a white and being taken back with them just to serve, because like the half, like you were saying, the half white, half not white, whatever you want to call it, to get them in. Welcome, Eric and Billy. I know Corey wants to get in too, so we'll get Corey in right after this, and maybe Raul wants to call in, possibly.
Yeah, Raul said too.
Yeah, so Corey and Raul are next. So what's up, guys? We'll go with Eric first. What did you think of the episode, and who do you think is going to survive? Placing your bets on who to live and who to die.
Okay, I thought the episode was fantastic. I just like the rest of the season, I think has been fantastic. Who do I think is going to die? I'm saying Beric dies, Thoros dies, and Tormund dies. I think Jorah is actually going to make it out of this alive.
Jorah's going down. Tormund's staying.
Yeah, I think Tormund's going to die too. I forgot to say that. Yeah.
And the Hound, I think, survives too.
Billy, what do you think?
Who? Well, first of all, hi.
Hello.
And thank you for my Knights box.
Right, thank you for the support. Congratulations.
Yeah, I got John and Ghost watching me as I sleep, which doesn't sound creepy. I made that joke yesterday, but I don't care. And
hey, I didn't call you out.
No, who I think of the Magnificent Seven is going to die. Obviously, Thoros is going to die. Beric is also very much going to die because he's already died like how many times?
5 times.
Yeah, 5 times. And each time he's just like, just somebody please just kill me. So put Beric out of his misery, man. And Jon and Jorah are going to make it. They're locks in for making it. The Hound's also probably going to make it. I'm still up in the air about Tormund, though. He's like the one guy I'm not sure he's going to make it. I don't think he's going to make it, and I would be devastated. But, yeah, he's the one that I'm not certain of. But Thoros and Beric for sure. because they're also
Have,
not.
have you guys watched the preview for next week? Like the 30-second preview?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you notice
I don't know
what
what
weapon old...
Tom and Kimber haven't, I don't think.
Oh.
Is it different than the trailer?
I mean, just the 30-second teaser that plays after the episode.
Oh, yeah, we saw it.
Weapon that the Hound had in his hand.
Yeah, but people get disarmed all the
Gendry's.
Oh yeah, forgot to say about Gendry. Gendry may not make it.
I don't want him to die.
I don't want him to die either.
Don't bring him back just to kill him. No, he's the last Baratheon. He's got to live.
I know that's why you don't want him to die, because he's the last Baratheon. Even though he could oppose your boy, he could have opposed your boy.
He could have.
But you know,
funny you say that. My friends have been teasing me nonstop, saying that the undead that they're going to bring back is Stannis. I've been getting nonstop text, voicemails.
Please let it happen.
I don't buy into that.
That would be so awesome if that happened.
In a way, it would be awesome. I could get down with it.
I mean, Stephen Delaney.
I'd cry, but it'd be cool.
I mean, hell.
Do you guys think it'd be more interesting if instead of Jorah, because think of what Dondarrion has said this entire time. Every time he's come back, there's been little and little until he's going to be nothing left. What if Dondarrion's the one who's a white that they bring back instead? That'd be interesting for him to come back one last time, and it's not by Rhaelor's like grace. You know what I mean?
Right. That'd be cool too.
That's cool.
It'd be entirely possible, and it could probably happen.
And ever since the original trailer that had the shot of him with the flaming sword light up, I've been waiting and waiting for that scene. And it looks like that scene's finally going to happen next week.
I thought it'd be last week. I watched Hard Home right before we watched Eastwatch because I thought it was going to be another big
battle episode. So now you got to rewatch it again.
I was DMing with Kimber. I'm like, is Tom upset because he rewatched Hard Home and this wasn't an action-packed episode? She's like, no, he's okay.
Because it was also interesting because Tyrion said in Hard Home that he would tell Daenerys about his father, blah, 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 blah. But in this episode, he did discuss killing his father with Jaime. So there was a parallel. I did find a parallel still.
And it was torment heavy. Hard
and it was torment heavy, which is good because... But not as much torment as I would have liked in this episode. But we'll get it all next one. So, well, so Sam's here. Hi, Sam.
Thank you guys for calling in. So we'll go with Eric first. Where can we find you, and what are you working on?
You can find me on Twitter at mmkoch200, and I, of course, host my own little recap of Game of Thrones. The next episode of mine is The Fury. Will go out tomorrow, so definitely look out for that. And the next aftermath, we're trying to nail down the day. Our schedules kind of, we have to, we'll get it together.
SummerSlam is a longer episode than usual, and we all have like conflicts with Game of Thrones and stuff, so we're going to try to figure out when it's coming out.
Hi, Kimber.
Hi.
Billy?
Okay, and you can find me at BBusterBill on Twitter, and I'm actually going to be working on some voice work with a friend named Christoph Waltz. No, not the actor. And yeah, I'm currently on a writer's block with the articles for the Odd Shaped channel, but you can find me also on all the Odd Shaped channel shows, and just hit me up on Twitter.
All right. So thank you very much. I guess we'll call in. We'll see you guys next week. And we'll call Raul and Corey. Get ready.
You gonna let Eric out?
No.
You can inject me.
He's being nice and letting me eject him.
He looks like he's in the Black Lodge. He should be doing that thing, you know? If you only watch Twin Peaks.
I know.
So you get... I think I just sent Raul one.
So Raul and Corey, get ready. You're being called. I wonder what next week's episode is going to be called. I really wish they should have had it up by now. You think they'll give the last two titles right away now, or are they going to just give one?
Don't know.
We had the last two last season that left.
Hey, Raul.
Hey, Raul.
Can you see me?
Yes, we can. You.
Okay, I can only see me.
Okay.
But how's everything, guys?
Good. So what did you think of the episode, and who do you think is gonna live and die in the next week's episode?
Oh, the episode was so good. I know that Sam had the shame because he didn't listen to, I always forget her name, Jeannie or Jenny, I forgot.
Really?
Well, okay, and so even though he was pissed, Sam was pissed because he doesn't get the information that he wants. He wants to contribute more to John. He wants to help win the war. That's why he didn't want to listen to that girl. And so also because he's tired, he has a very stressful job. That's why he made that. He's gonna remember it when it's gonna be, when everybody needs to like a peer review. Sam is gonna be there, says, "Oh no, I know this." He's gonna remember in the exact moment. And I really like how Cersei is turning completely insane. Oh, she's not pregnant. She's faking it.
So who do you think? Who
Probably pulling off of years of Spanish soap opera experience.
Yes.
and Pretty Little Liars. Don't forget, and Pretty Little Liars.
Because Cersei, for me, she's a mix of Teresa and Ruby. And Ruby did the same thing before the series finale. She pretended to be pregnant of one of the doctor's children, and she was faking it just to get his money. And so she's gonna do the same.
So who do you think is gonna live and die next week, Raul?
Oh, I think that Jorah is the one who's going to die, and John is gonna bring Jorah as a White Walker to Cersei.
Oh.
So people are liking that theory.
Yeah, because Jorah already survived the grayscale, and then he's gonna die. And with his last minutes, he will say to John, "Protect the one that I love." And he will die, and then John is gonna grab Jorah. He's not gonna grab any random White Walker. He's gonna grab someone that it really like supports something. Like, even though Jorah is no longer like a royal Mormon, he's one of the last ones. And so that's why Cersei can, even though Cersei, she's crazy, she's not going to believe anything. But still, that's my theory.
Yeah.
And I don't want also, like everyone said, I don't want Gendry to die. He just got back. Maybe kill him in like 3 episodes, but not right now.
All right. Corey, what do you think of the episode, and what do you think for next week? Who's living, who's dying?
I liked the episode, but I wasn't like blown away by it. There was definitely a feeling of getting all the pieces in the same in place for next week, which is going to be the episode 9 of this season.
Yes.
So I felt that the plot mechanics have taken over, and that's all very cool, but it didn't make for the best episode of the season. Having said that, I did cry about 4 times during this episode, so I guess it's all good. As far as who's going to live and die, I think Tormund will live because we have no other character to take over as the representation of the wildlings. We don't have a backup for him. I think he'll live. I think Gendry is for the chop. I think he's going. And I think that who keeps dying? Dondarrion?
Beric Dondarrion, yes.
Yeah, I think he'll die, and Thoros will bring him back to life, and Jon will say something like, "Oh, I thought that was only me." Oh, okay. Because there is that dynamic that we haven't explored.
But also, if Thoros brings him back, maybe that'll kill Thoros, because in the books, Thoros dies bringing back Stoneheart.
That's right.
So that could be to
That's
kill
right.
Thoros as a shout out to the book. You know?
Yeah, much love to.
Yeah.
It'd also be smart, like Raul was saying, you know, you're definitely going to take back somebody from there. Not only because, hey, imagine the look on Dany's face if she looked at Jorah and Jorah wasn't looking back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was this white.
Right.
And it's a fresher corpse. It's going to last longer.
Yeah.
I have no idea
the dramatic.
Yeah, I have no idea about Jorah. I have no idea whether he will live or die. I got nothing.
I really think he's gonna be the one that they bring back. Like just like we were saying.
It could.
It's gonna be that.
It could be.
That's the thing that's gonna hurt the most. Right? Because he's the one that has the most connection that went to Dany, right? Of the group that left.
Yeah.
And you could probably
Yep.
also get that scene of like Tyrion taking that coin out of Jorah's like pouch and saying like, it did take us to death, kind of like that, something like that.
Well, that's good.
That's good. But I mean, like, even though you didn't find this episode that good, at least it didn't have Dougie in it, right? So you can like it for that.
Well, I did not say. Hey, wait. The worst episode.
No,
the worst
I'm talking
episode
about
of
Game of
Thrones.
Thrones having Dougie on it.
Yeah, the worst episode of Game of Thrones is better than the best episode of most other shows. So I'm not saying anything bad about this episode. It just didn't, wasn't a masterpiece.
And that wasn't a Twin Peaks spoiler. I was saying that there was no Dougie on Game of Thrones, so that's why Corey
I
could
wasn't
enjoy
sure
the
if
episode.
Vortex opened and he came into Game of Thrones. I didn't know what was going on.
He teleported to Game of Thrones now. That's how he got there. So we can go to Raul real quick because I know Tom's got to go soon. He's got the job. So, Raul, where can we find you and what have you been working on?
Yeah, you can find me at Raul Bader RTC. I'm working in an article about Gravity Falls for the Upshake Panel webpage. And also, I will always bring the love to Sam, even though that Kal hates him.
I don't hate him. I just don't like your ending to it. Make me the White Walker. If that's the ending that's going to happen, I'd rather become the White Walker that they take back to King's Landing. Whatever happens to me, happens to me.
I think Sam will survive past all of them. I think he's the one who's away.
A lot of people are saying Sam's going to be the one who writes the Song of Ice and Fire for it. But I mean, what if it's not? What if it's Sam's son or Gilly that writes it? That would be a little twist, right?
Yeah,
like Gilly's learning to read and all that, so maybe because she's lived up north of the wall, so she sees that everything that's happened, kind of thing. So either Gilly or Sam, the baby Sam, but we'll see. Corey, where can we find you, and what have you been working on?
Oh, well, I'm at Geometroid on Twitter. You can find me. I run the Tech Podcast every Saturday, which hasn't been every Saturday recently, but you know how it is. This Sunday, I'm going to be on Tom Z's Cars and Popcorn podcast talking about Death Proof. That should be fun. And I'm all over the Game Fixers Network now. I'm doing all the shows on the Game Fixers Network. So that's where I'm at.
All right, thank you. So thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you next week. See if your predictions are correct. I'm going to jump over to Tom and Kimber. So where can we find you, and what are you guys working on? What do you guys got coming up?
Well, you can always check out our content at oddshapechannel.com or just subscribe to our channel, Oddshape Channel, which is this one. We've been starting to do at the closing of each show just a special shout out and thank you to our patron producers, who is Raul Rodriguez and Mormo. So they're a big help to all of our shows. But you can tweet at me at OddShapePanel on Twitter.
I'm at Kimberbatch_OSP.
And we got tomorrow, Twin Peeps, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is our Twin Peaks recap show, going over part 14. And we'll be back again this coming Monday for our space opera episode of OSP. So look out for, I think you put up a tweet asking for questions?
I did not yet.
Oh, well, we're going to be putting up a tweet looking for questions. So take a look out for that. And we'll be joined by a special guest next week on OSP. So
yeah, and Morgan is going to be coming into town on Saturday, and he's going to be doing a bunch of OSP abroad, like short videos of his trip here. So you can find both of us on a bunch of those, as well as Kal, who's going to be meeting up with him for lunch, and Delisha. And that's it.
Yep. So we'll see Morgan on Saturday before we go out for our pay-per-view. We're going to have lunch with Morgan, so you'll probably see us on the video like they were saying. But you could find me at, you can email us at nightswatchtube@gmail.com. I know we haven't had any fan art since Heather sent us in, but if you have any fan art or cosplay you want to send in, then we also have the Night's Watch Twitter at nightswatchtube. You can personally get at me at VeranjaDejaVu, and like Tom said, at OddShapePanel, for Kimber at Kimberbatch_OSP. All this wonderful content that you see, you can find on www.oddshapechannel.com. We got to thank Janine again for doing our title card. So at Janine Devine or at G9 Designs. She also has a real crazy design coming up that's entering a contest. So we'll be retweeting that so you can support it starting September 1st. And my cousin Shreepal at Shreeps Music for doing the theme song. And like what I was saying for content that's coming up, we do have Twin Peeps coming on tomorrow with Tom and Kimber. I'm a freaking caller for that. We have Aftermath coming up next week because SummerSlam is next week. I just know it's a 4-hour show, and we have Game of Thrones and all that and all this stuff that we got to prep for. So stay tuned for when we're going to actually do the Aftermath episode. We'll probably be tweeting about that. And then, of course, next week, 9 p.m., we'll have Night's Watch again. So we'll be getting down to the end pretty much. This is probably the episode 9, if you want to call it, of a normal season. So it's going to be big. You know it's going to be big. So
I forgot a thing.
Yep.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
We're also going to be fact-checking in the Checker Chair on Fan Friction, which will be starting its new season on the 27th of this month. It's going to be Joe, Billy Business, and Langley fighting in that one, so definitely check that out. And you can tweet to us, and we'll be reading that stuff. And be sure to check out the new episodes of Fan Friction coming up, where I defend this belt right here. So, yeah, tune in for that.
Also, new content from us coming to Tough this season, so look out for that too.
And thank you for reminding me of fighting, because I actually fact check and co-judge, I guess, on Gamer Grudge, a show that Mac does on twice a month, I guess. So we had our second episode last night, it was, and the next one's coming September 4th or September 5th, depending on like how the holiday weekend pans out. So look out for that. It's on his channel. And there's also links for it on my channel as well. So make sure you subscribe to all of us on YouTube. And just once again, I want to make the announcement again for the Night's Watch charity raffle that we're doing. The prize is the Song of Ice and Fire book set. And as you can see, those are the dollar values you guys can donate. You can always donate more. If you don't want to enter the raffle and you just want to donate, you can just get at me too. I will accept the donation and donate all of it at once at the end of the month to Tina's page as a group donation from the Night's Watch, and all the supporters of the Night's Watch. So you can get at me at Night's Watch Tube or email me at nightswatchtube@gmail.com. Please, please, please support us. Donate. Just make sure you hit me up, because I know some people in the chat said they want to donate, but I couldn't catch everyone who said it. So please hit me up as soon as possible so I can get these donations in. Support the family, and that's what we like to do. There's one more thing I want to say about that. Yeah, thanks again to Vicky, Elise, and Warmer for already donating. It means so much to us, so thank you for that. And one last thing, happy Lost Day. It's 8:15, so it is flight 8:15 for the show Lost, so happy Lost Day. Thank you, everybody, and I will leave this up for to be on the screen as we pan out for any information who wants to donate. So thank you again, and we'll see you next week.